My heart stopped because my mom told me this. The doctor, they were waiting to pronounce me dead, right? They was waiting to pronounce me dead. Everyone was just waiting to say, Lucini is dead, right?
Right.
But then I woke up. I never forget, I woke up. The time that I remember it was like 6, 7, and my mom was standing on top of me. She was praying and all these things, and a couple of friends came to visit me. Mm-hmm. And I looked up at that hospital. The first thing the doctor told me, he said, "Young man, you're lucky to be alive." I was like, what is he talking about? I was 24 at the time, right?
Wow.
And that, every time I think about that, that's what drives me to do what I'm doing, because it's like, if you have gone through a near-death situation where you have the opportunity to live a life, you would never look at life the same. You will always look at life, as long as I'm living, I'm going to make it happen. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm doing. I'm making everything that I would have won a couple years ago happen now, because I'm just more determined with everything that I've been through in the last 6 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Marvin Francois Show, here where we talk all things business, finance, and investing. And today is a very special day because we have none other than my guy, Lucini Donzo. What's going on, my brother? How are you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Marvin?
Man, I'm blessed and highly favored. Better now that I'm talking to you. And today is a great day because on this episode of TMFS, we are going to be talking about how you, no, not the person next to you, not the person behind you, but how you can monetize your brand. I'm super excited for us to be getting into this today. But before we do that, y'all already know the drill. Take a second, take a minute, take an hour out of your day right here, right now to just go ahead, slap that like button, show this episode some love, and subscribe to the channel for content like this and more in the near future. But without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend. What's going on, my brother?
What's up, Marvin? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Good.
Complain.
Most definitely, man. First and foremost, I'm very happy to have you here. I know you just flew in today, right?
Yeah.
How was the flight? Are you okay? Are you good?
I'm okay. The flight was a little long,
okay,
but I'm okay, though. I'm okay. I had to take 2 flights just to come to New York.
Man, just for this moment, man.
Yeah, just for this moment, man.
Man, I appreciate it, man. And, I've heard amazing things about you. I say this every single time. I don't just bring any and everybody on the Marvin Francois Show. I want to bring on heavy hitters that's going to come and bring game on top of game on top of game. So I said, man, I moved mountains. I knocked down trees.
Let's go.
I elbowed people in their necks. And I said, I need this man to come on here and not only tell his story, but educate the people on how they can monetize their brands the way that you've been able to monetize your brand, right? So
yes, sir.
I'm extremely excited for us to get into everything right now. But of course, before we do that, take a second to just let the people know who you are, where you're from, what you do, and how you got your start.
So my name is Lucini Donzo. Originally, I came in America as a refugee. I was born and raised in Monrovia, Liberia. When I first came here, I grew up in Philly. After growing up in Philly, I left Philly. I went to Virginia State University, enlisted in the Army. I was enlisted for about 3-4 years. Then later on, went to college, became an officer. Now I am a captain in the United States Army, also entrepreneur, and I also coach and mentor people how to start, market, and scale their business digitally.
Wow. Okay. Well, there's a lot of time. Well, first and foremost, thank you for your service. I appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
We got a lot to unravel there. So for starters, what exactly led you to, going into the Army and deciding that you wanted to serve?
Man, I'm not going to lie. So growing up, I was always the type of kid that I didn't have the courage to do anything that I wanted to do. And I was like, what is the hardest job for me to have? And one of the hardest jobs at that time was being in the Army, being a soldier, right? Because I realized the Army was going to challenge me. And my whole life, I've always wanted things that is hard, because Les Brown said, one of the Les Brown quotes, he was like, yo, do the hard stuff, because when you do the hard stuff, your life will get easier. Mm-hmm. So I started doing the hard stuff, joining the Army. It was very challenging, but I ended up passing basic training. And then later on, I wanted to accomplish more challenge. So I wanted to become an officer. So that's how I really wanted that challenge. I wanted to stand out, to be part of that 1%. That was one of the reasons why I joined. And service too. Got you.
Now, how many years have you been serving so far?
I've been serving 9. December will make me 10 years.
Man, a decade, bro.
Yes.
Congratulations, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and this is the Marvin Francois Show history, because I don't think I've ever had anyone on here that served before. I hope I'm not wrong. I don't think we have ever had anyone on here that served before. So I guess was there a goal coming into it in terms of like, I'm going to serve for this long, or are you kind of just taking it as it comes along? What's the plan there?
So initially, I wanted to retire in the military. Initially, I wanted to be a first sergeant. That's one of the highest rank, minus a sergeant major.
Hmm.
But as my journey throughout the military was going, I was just taking it one step at a time.
Hmm.
And eventually, when I was a E4, I realized that I could go back to school and get paid more.
Okay.
So I literally, that's when my eyes started opening with the military. I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I can just take this one step at a time instead of looking at it as like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna just make it a career.
Right.
So that's when I became an officer. And now as an officer, I realized I was making a lot of money. And I was like, you know what? I need to do something with this.
Right.
So that's how initially wanted to retire. Now I just want to teach a lot of my military brothers and sisters that you can have the life that you want and chase your dream while also serving if you don't want to retire.
Right. Man, that's incredible because, to the point that I think the only other person that I know, or that at least I know of outside of you now, that served in the military and used that path kind of to help and serve other people, right, who are also in the military. I'm sure I believe his name is Aristotle Investments, right?
Yes.
I think he also served, and he's kind of helped people within that space and lane learn about entrepreneurship. But man, that's a tall task, right? Because on one hand, you're serving your country, you're defending your country, but on the other hand, you're walking this path of entrepreneurship, which is its own beast, right? In and of itself, every single day it's a challenge.
Yeah.
What's a day in the life of Luceni Donzo look like right now? Because brother, I can imagine your schedule got to look crazy.
So I don't have a life, right? And I don't say that just to say that I don't have a life. So every morning I wake up 5:30 in the morning. I go to PT. I come back. I probably read about an hour. Then I have to sit down with one of my business coaches and my staff. We have to plan out our social media for the week. And then I go to work and be a regular captain taking care of soldiers. Immediately when I come back, I take off my uniform. I got to tap into entrepreneur Donzo. I got to tap into like, okay, how are we going to bring more clients into the business? Because I am the business, right? How are we going to be able to target certain people? How are we going to be to change people's lives? What are we missing? What are some of the things we need to, what skills do I need to learn? So these are all things that I'm constantly thinking about along with my team so we can be able to do promotion and get people, whether it's join a webinar, join a mentorship, or get the ebooks or whatever, right? So it's very hectic, but at the same time, it's rewarding because I am learning so much discipline. And that is something like the military, kind of teach you as far as being a leader, being disciplined. So I love it. And like I said, I really believe that if my life is hard right now, it's going to be easier later on. So I pride on that. So I pride on my life being hard now, so I can be able to take advantage of the little time that I have,
right?
So I can make it matter. So it's pretty much, I really don't go to bed till like 11.
Oh,
yeah, and I wake up at 5:30. Yeah,
goodness gracious,
pretty much
bro.
it.
That's and so what are those comments? Because I'm sure you have friends, and of course you have family outside of the military, and I'm sure they know of the success that you've had on the side within entrepreneurship. Do you ever have those conversations where they're kind of pulling you aside, like, listen, brother, look, you don't have to do this. You can just go full time in entrepreneurship. Bro, you know what's funny? To be very transparent, before I brought you on, I think I even asked you that question. I'm like, bro, why are you doing this? You don't have to serve and do entrepreneurship. You've already established yourself as an entrepreneur. You're going to continue to build on on that platform, right? Why are you putting yourself in this position where you have to juggle both? And also, like you said, you're still in school right now, right?
So I just finished my master's.
Okay, gotcha. So you're done.
Yes.
But even before that, you were juggling three. School is its own. I don't even call it a problem. School is its own lane.
Right.
Serving in the military is its own lane. And you basically have 3 full-time businesses, right? So, but even now, still with the Army, still with entrepreneurship, when you have those conversations with family and friends, and they're trying to talk you out of juggling the both of them, what is your initial response to that usually?
For me, I tell everybody this, man. The goal for me is to be great, right? I want to be one of the greatest to ever live on this planet. So in order for you to be great, you have to put yourself through a lot, right? So I don't really look at the challenges that I'm currently going through. So a lot of my family members, yes, they do say what you say, Marvin. They say, Lucini, you can just retire in the military. You can just focus on your business.
Right.
But I always say, why can't you do it all? What if I tell myself, what if I can make $1 million from a cell phone and a laptop while having a master's degree and while coaching over 200 students how to do it while still being an Army, right? And that's what drives me, because it's like, it's a service thing. So it's not more of a, it's right now where I'm at, it's like helping people, because I've accomplished a lot. I've accomplished a lot, which is cool, but it's more taking the knowledge that I have in my head and saying, you know what, if I can be able to do something like this while I'm in the military, then I can be able to transform a lot of other individuals that have a 9 to 5, that actually going to school for their masters, that think they can be able to have a 6-figure business, or they can be able to make $10,000, $25,000 a month on their business.
Right.
So it's more that challenge that I tell myself, regardless of what anyone think, because a lot of people discourage me. Military folks discourage me all the time. Family discourage me all the time. Friends, some friends have discouraged me all the time. But I don't let that get to me. I always say, what if? Because if the what if become final, then everybody would say, oh, he's an overnight. But really, in reality, I wasn't overnight. It took years of grinding, because it took about 4 years to become this type of person where people now come to me. I don't go to people no more. So yeah.
Got you. And that's powerful. And even to a much larger degree, people who are outside of the Army, once they learn about your story, it puts a lot of people, even myself, in positions like, yo, what's your excuse? You know what I'm saying?
No excuse.
You know what I'm saying? You got a dude that's juggling school, serving, and, a whole business. If you're talking about, well, my 9 to 5 doesn't allow me to do this, or, well, I'm in a relationship that won't allow me to do that. No, your story and other stories like yours completely dispel that and beyond. So, I mean, listen, man, I tip my hat to you, because I'm exhausted just thinking about, to be honest with you, what your schedule looks like. But, man, I definitely tip my hat to you on that. But now, even moving forward, one thing about me, I always try and do as much research as I possibly can with anyone that I bring on. So I was so intrigued by your story that I knew I had to bring you on, not just because of the Army, you serving and also being an entrepreneur, but if I remember correctly, I was looking more into your story, and I saw something about, and I don't want to mispronounce it, something about a grand mal seizure.
Yes.
Okay. And that was how that was something that you went through, nearly losing your life, right? Being in that situation. Could you talk a little bit more about, well, let's backtrack a little bit into what happened, right, when it came to that. What exactly is a grand mal seizure, and a little bit more of your story from the health side of things.
So a grand mal seizure is one of the worst seizures that anyone can ever have, right? So usually people have seizures, and they live with seizures based on medication. A grand mal seizure is I'm not a doctor, but based on what the doctor told me, a grand mal seizure is one of the highest seizure that, if you have it, there's a possibility that you can die.
Right.
Right. So I personally, when I was in college, going to Virginia State University.
Shout out
to the Virginia State fam, right? So when I was going to Virginia State, I was working full time. I was in ROTC full time, and I had to school full time. So my whole life, I've always had to work. I've always had to grind, right? But what led me to having a seizure was I wasn't having adequate amount of sleep. I wasn't taking care of my mental. I wasn't taking care of my body, and I was lifting heavy weight. I was at 180 pounds at the time. So my body went into shock. So the first time I had a seizure, Marvin, it was in my sleep where I dislocated my left shoulder.
Okay.
But I didn't know that I had a seizure, because prior to that, I never had a seizure before. So when I woke up, my two best friends, Adrian and Sam, I told them, I was like, hey, man, I'm not feeling well. I can't even feel my shoulder. So they was like, yo, Donzo, what's wrong? I was like, I'm not feeling well. They was like, all right, we're going to take you to the doctor. Immediately, 30 minutes to an hour after I was in that hospital, I had another grand mal seizure. And the seizure was so terrible that my whole entire body was shaking, that they had to strap my neck, and they had to hold my head, and they had to strap my neck down to where the only part on my body that was moving was everything down.
Right.
And my right shoulder ended up being dislocated.
Wow.
And the seizure was so bad, I went into a coma for about, I'll say 8 to 10 hours. So like I was in a coma, my heart stopped, right? So, and this is true story. My heart stopped. because my mom told me this. The doctor, they were waiting to pronounce me dead, right? They was waiting to pronounce me dead. Everyone was just waiting to say, you know, Lucini is dead, right?
Right.
But then I woke up. I never forget, I woke up. The time that I remember, it was like 6, 7, and my mom was standing on top of me. She was praying and all these things, and a couple of friends came to visit me.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked up at that hospital. The first thing the doctor told me, he said, "Young man, you're lucky to be alive." I was like, what is he talking about? I was 24 at the time, right?
Wow.
And that, every time I think about that, that's what drives me to do what I'm doing, because it's like, if you have gone through a near-death situation where you have the opportunity to live a life, you would never look at life the same. You
Right.
will always look at life. As long as I'm living, I'm going to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm doing. I'm making everything that I would have won a couple years ago happen now, because I'm just more determined with everything that I've been through in the last 6 years.
Son, you know I pulled you over today?
Because I was doing 90 and a 40 and hit 3 people along the way?
No, I don't care about that. What I do care about, though, is when checking our system, seems like you got a 580 credit score, right? Now, normally, I'd give you a ticket for this, but instead, I'm going to give you a link to a website called francoiscapital.com, right? They specialize in removing hard inquiries, charge-offs, collections, student loans, evictions, and so much more. So when you leave here, head over to francoiscapital.com and book your free credit consultation today, the Capital way. All right? So,
All right, well, thank you, officer. What the hell is this? Are you even a cop?
have a good day. How old are you now?
I'm 30. I just turned 30.
Well, goodness gracious. Wow, goodness. So this was only about 6 years ago.
Yeah, 6 years ago.
Now, when it comes to seizure, what's the recovery process? Is it a week to week, month to month thing, or what's the process there?
So with my seizure, they wanted to put me, that's another thing I left out of the story. Let me say it. So with my seizure, they wanted to put me on the medication for the rest of my life. Right. So the doctor told me, hey, you know what? We're going to stick you on the medication. You'll take the medication. Marvin, what the medication was doing to me, I was losing my memory. I was losing my hair.
Yo, what is going on, bro?
Right. I was losing my memory. I was losing my hair. When I was taking that medication, my little brother would come to me and he would tell me something, and then I wouldn't remember. And I would tell him, you didn't tell me that. My mom would be like, yeah, he told you. And my mom would say the same thing. So it was driving me nuts. So I had two options at that time. At 24 years old, I had two options. I had the option to accept the life that the circumstances that just was presented to me, or I said to myself, you know what? I'd rather die. I'm not taking this medication. So I went to the doctor. I said, look, we got two options. I'm going to graduate college. I'm going to be a commission officer. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to be a millionaire.
Right.
And I'm not doing any of this by having that.
Right.
Right. And he was like, well, I said, don't give me excuses. What do I need to do to get off this medication?
Right.
Right. Because the thing about it, most people don't challenge doctors. You know what they do? They just listen.
Right.
We just listen because they're certified.
They're licensed professional.
They're licensed professional.
Right.
But do you know that doctors are one of the most individuals that are responsible for deaths in America?
Did not know that.
You can research it, right?
Right.
Doctors are,
right,
but everybody trusts doctors.
Right.
So I did my research on that, and I said to myself, you know what? I'm getting off the seizure medication. So eventually, I started taking half the pill. No, I started taking one pill a day. Then I started taking half the pill. Then I got off the pill. Then I had to go through it's like some brain cell thing they got to do with your brain to make sure you don't have any triggers or whatever.
Right.
Then after that, that's when I went 6 months with no seizure. He cleared me. And then I was going through physical therapy, and boom, graduated college, boom, commission, rest is history.
Hey, man, this is a lot, bro. This is, and for you to be here, I mean, at this moment, all these tests culminating to essentially be the testimony for you to be for where you are now. That's crazy. And you're still so young. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't something that happened, decades ago. You're only 30. This is something that happened, around 4-6+ years ago and beyond. So for you to still be here, that's absolutely mind blowing. And man, God bless you, bro. Like, that is crazy. So, but now for me, knowing your story, what you came from to where you are now, let's dive a little bit more into the entrepreneurship side of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the midst of all of that, how exactly did you get into entrepreneurship? What was your introduction into entrepreneurship?
So my first introduction to entrepreneurship was actually Shopify, right? My first course that I ever bought, or the first individual that ever mentored me, was Ty Lopez, right? So Ty Lopez, back in 2017, 18, I think on one of his seminars, I was in his closed group at the time. He said he spent over 20 million in ads, and he specifically targeted 18 to 23-year-old because he realized that 18 to 23-year-old were wanted to own Shopify store, which a lot of the millionaires from the Shopify store who are now 30
Right.
came from that, right?
Right.
So I learned a lot from Ty Lopez. So my first course was from Ty Lopez. And then after I started a Shopify store in 2018, I was trying to get that going. But being in the military and having a business, it's hard.
Right.
And I didn't want to go the traditional route because everybody in the military do real estate. Everybody and their mama wants to use a VA loan play. They
Right.
want to, and I always looked at myself as different. How can I stand out? Because I am unique and everyone watching this video is unique, right? How can I add my own twist into it? I was like, well, you know what? What if I do something that is strictly from the laptop and your cell phone, but I can still be able to make money? So my lifelong dream is becoming the #1 speaker on the planet. And I also realized that I can't do that while being in the military.
Right.
So that was a check off. So I said, all right, what else can I do? And then one time I went to Dallas. Eric Thomas was having a seminar. I went to an in-person seminar before COVID hit. And I went to one of the Eric Thomas seminar. And that's when there was this guy he brought on. I don't remember. He was talking about books. He was saying, hey, you can write a book and you can use a book to gain credibility. People start looking at you different. And that can jumpstart your way into entrepreneurship.
Right.
So that's when I got back. I started figuring out how can I write a book. Didn't know how. I seek one of my mentor, AJ. AJ was the one that helped me publish my book.
Right.
And when AJ helped me publish my book, everybody looked at me different as an author. So boom, I took advantage of it and I started doing something that naturally came to me, and I solved the problem in my life, which was credit. Right. The easiest way I tell anyone, if you want to get into entrepreneurship, is use what you have solved in your life and find about 5 people and do it for them for free. Get them to give you a testimonial and then start marketing it. All right. So, but it was easier for me because everybody was like, well, I trust Lucini because he's an author.
Right.
He wrote a book.
Right.
Made it a lot easier. So that's how I got into entrepreneurship.
Okay, you starting to get into the fun stuff that we really about to get into. So I love that. Okay, so we're gonna get into the marketing in a second, but I want to dive a little bit more into entrepreneurship, right? So as an entrepreneur, right, one of the more important tools that you have is access to credit, right? So talk a little bit about your journey with credit and how you were able to build credit for yourself.
Man, so my journey with credit is a love and hate, man. So I had a bad credit score my entire college. I was literally living on credit while I was in college because nobody teaches us how to actually manage credit or build credit. Our parents, coming from an African home, my mom used to tell me, you don't want to have a credit card, don't use a credit card. And, I listened while I was in college. But when I got out of my mom's roof, or when I got away, I just started realizing that, man, what is this taboo? Everybody is talking about credit, don't get into credit. And you only hear that in the
Black household. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's when, again, in Ty Lopez's course, he actually had a credit course, right? And again, this is a hack a lot of people if you want to get into entrepreneurship. So I watched this guy he literally taught the entire course. So I took what he taught and I applied it, and it worked. So because it worked and because I solved a problem in my life, I started wanting more. He started talking about manufacturing spending. He started talking about like liquid and credit to cash. He started talking about having maximum amount of credit. He started talking about how to have, just how to, business credit, put stuff in your business name and all these things. So what I realized, well, I can't do any of that because my credit was 580, even though I cleaned it. Now, what got me from where that 580 to where I ended up being in the 840 was I had a car loan and I had a car loan and I had a personal loan, right? So most people don't understand that everything has to do with your credit profile, right?
Facts.
Everything has to do with your credit profile. So, and which is what the guy taught. So I was like, okay, cool. I was 25 at the time. My credit profile was weak. I only had 2 years in credit or whatever the case may be. So I was like, all right, you know what? What can I do to be able to improve this and expedite my success when it comes to credit? So I refinanced my car loan 3 times with 3 different banks. So when you refinance your car loan with, let's say I get a loan with Navy Federal, I go to PenFed and get a car loan with them, use that loan to pay off that loan, then go to DATQ, use DATQ to pay off PenFed loan, right? Then use that loan. That's one car. You now have 5 positive or 4, whatever the case may be, positive on your credit profile. So immediately when I did that, my credit score jumped from a 580 to like a 600 and something, because on my profile, it looked like this guy has paid off 5 loans in less than a year. But really, I didn't pay 5 loans. I just used the resources that I got and used a loan to pay a loan. Now, that's where it get deep, right? So most people don't know that if you're making, at the time I was making $50,000, $60,000 as a second lieutenant in the Army, you want to have the same amount you're making in terms of credit. So if you're making, let's say 40,000 or 100,000, you want to have 100,000 in credit. So I end up getting 2 Navy Federal cards where I had 50,000. Now, just because you have 50,000, don't use it. You let that, once you apply for that card, you let it sit. Now, what on your credit profile is going to look like, it's going to say, oh, well, this person now paid, he paid off 4 loans in 1 year, and then he's sitting on $50,000. So your debt to income ratio is going to look good. That's another way I got it. That's how I got into the 700. Now, the last hack, right, I used was personal loan. So I got a personal loan from Navy Federal. I got a personal loan from PenFed. I got a personal loan from all these different. I use personal loan to pay off personal loan. Use a personal loan, pay off personal player, personal loan. So then I had like 5, 6 personal loan. So now my credit score was sitting at a positive, right? It had all positive account. It had credit card utilization was 0 and all that. So now and the last key is what a lot of us know is I just asked one of my boy who's older than me. I was like, yo, bro, just add me on your credit.
Right, yeah.
As an AU.
Yeah, AU.
Skyrock. So I had a 7, I think at the time I had like a 785 at the time. And once he did, boom, it went up. And then I used that. I took advantage of that credit. I got into business. I started making other moves, bought properties and all that. So that's what even now to this day, I use. Like right now, I literally got a $50,000 loan. Once I pay it off, by the end of next year or in the next six months, my credit score is going to go up because I don't wait 4 or 5 years to pay off the loan. No, you don't wait.
Right.
You know, but before I pay it off, go ahead. Before I pay it off, right, I'm going to get another loan to pay that loan off. And then let's say in 2 years, I'll have paid off over 100,000 in loan. And guess what? I can go to the bank and say, hey, you know, I want more money, because the bank would say, well, this person, we're going to, because what the bank does is the bank is going to give you, because America is a capitalism country. They want you to get in debt.
Right.
But if you know how to use the system, you can take advantage of it. So,
Marv, Dean Dallas here from the FICO Friendly News. Great performance. You got another 117-point increase for one of your clients. But I want to take a look at the second quarter. It seemed like Equifax tried to put a late payment on one of your clients' credit accounts. What were your initial thoughts on that?
You know, they're a dirty team. Everybody in the league knows that. You know, but ultimately, when you have a system like ours that specializes in removing hard inquiries, charge-offs, bankruptcies, student loans, and so much more, you know, you game plan for things like that. You know, we stuck to that game plan, and ultimately came out with the W. So it is what it is.
Sheena Shalley here. There have been some talks that you guys are going to be looking to recruit some new players this offseason. What can you tell us about that?
You know, I can't really speak on that. I'm going to leave that to the front office. I'm only focused on the guys that we already have in the locker room. But, you know, to anybody that's interested in joining the team, it's really not that hard. You know, all you got to do is head over to francoiscapital.com and then book your free credit consultation so that we can get your credit repaired today, the Capital way. Is that all? All right. Thanks, guys. You have a good one. All right. Appreciate it. Let me tell you something. We have a rule here on the Marvin Francois show,
Yeah.
and Josh knows what the rule is. If you drop a gem, I might break something. I'll break your mic right now if you keep dropping gems like this, brother. I'll break. That is, yo, that's crazy. That is, and that was in the span of what, 12 to 18 months?
That was in the span of 12 months, actually.
Okay, 12 months. So less than that. But that's something that, like you said, a lot of people can now take that same information and run with it. Okay. So we touched on your intro into entrepreneurship. We touched on how you were able to leverage credit, which is very important to an entrepreneur, being an entrepreneur, right? To get the funding you need to invest and do all these different things to start your business. Now let's take it a step further, right? Another important aspect of being an entrepreneur is, you didn't get into entrepreneurship just to get into entrepreneurship. You got into entrepreneurship to impact lives, but more importantly, to make money, right?
Right.
So now we're in the time right now, we're in this digital space. We see all these different people selling courses, selling ebooks, doing all these different things, right? But a lot of people don't understand how to go about doing it the right way, right? How to take their brand, their story like you have, right? Put it in a product like a course, like an ebook, and monetize that to start generating cash flow for them on this digital space. So let's dive a little bit more into that. If I'm watching this, I just heard your story, grand mal seizure, serving in the army, master's degree, entrepreneur, things below. That's not my story. That's not my story, right? But I want to be able to take my story, monetize that story, and I'm not necessarily sure what route to take. And even when I do figure out that route, I'm not necessarily sure what's the step-by-step process on getting things rocking and rolling. If I'm looking to get my footing in this digital space, what are some of the first steps that I need to take in order to get that rocking and rolling?
So the first step I tell everyone, and this is like basic level entrepreneurship, you want to be able to solve people problem, right?
Okay.
So the first step is you got to figure out what's problems that you can be able to solve in other people's life. Don't reinvent the wheel, right? People always say the market is saturated. Nah, it's not saturated. If it's working, then you need to keep doing it. You just need to add your own tweak into it. So if you want to get into the digital space, the first thing is you need to figure out what problems am I going to solve, right? What is with credit? What is with tax or whatever it is. So how do you get a digital product, right? This is how you can get a digital product in 24 hours, right? You go to either Rev or auto.ai.com, right?
Say that again, but say it slow.
So you go to rev.com or auto.ai, right? You talk about what is it that you want to create the digital product, right? Now, once you do that, you go to Fiverr.com, establish an account, and you go on Fiverr, you just, in the search bar, you said, you type in ebooks. In the ebook, you're going to see a whole bunch of people. You pick the best. Now, you don't want to pay somebody over. Let me tell you guys the pricings, right? So you can literally put out an ebook in literally less than $100 or $200, right? You can start your business less than $100 or $200. I'm about to give you the whole play. So once you go to rev.com or auto.ai and you record the ebook, right? You transcribe that. Once you transcribe that, you take that transcribe and you go to Fiverr.com and in Fiverr.com, you type in ebooks. Once you type in ebooks, you look at the best person. You don't want to hire agency, right? Because a lot of time agency is going to charge you $200-$300. No, just get somebody level 1, level 2. Long as they have over 10 reviews or more, that's my requirements, right? And then tell them in the context, say, hey, I just need this ebook expanded. Can you do it, right? 9 times out of 10, they're going to do it. Right. So, and it's usually going to take you about 3 to 5 days. Right. My max is 3 days because, you're trying to make money, right? Right. So let's say you do it in 3 days. Boom. Now, that same person, most of the time, they create the cover for you. What I usually tell people is you can take your own picture or whatever it is that you want to do. The title of it needs to be how to or step by step or my step to, something that is guiding people. When you are creating ebooks, you're not creating ebooks for yourself. Right. A lot of my ebooks are not for me. Right. It's for people. Right. As an entrepreneur, your business or whatever you're doing, you're creating for other people to buy into because you're not going to make yourself wealthy. So now once you have the, my 5 steps to 7 figures or my 5 steps to 6 figures, now you got the cover, you use Fiverr, again, you find somebody that can be able to build you a funnel. Now, let's say you don't have the money to do funnel. You go to Gumroad.com, you establish an account with Gumroad, you take that ebook that you just now created, literally on Fiverr, you add it to your Gumroad account, and then you put that link in your bio on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever social media. You start monetizing that. You start monetizing that. This is the hack that I get a lot of people in my business, right? So instead of creating one ebook, I always tell people create 4 ebook, right? It might cost you about $200, right? So the person that does mine probably typically paid for good ebooks, probably about 50 to 60, right?
Gotcha.
So the first one, you want to give it away for free, but you don't want to have all the sauce. You want it to be 10 page, 10 basic page.
Okay.
So the second and the third and the fourth ebook, you want to give it away for 27 to 47, right? So you give it away for 27 to 47. So that way, the first ebook that person come, they get it free, they like it, boom. They might come back, or they just go through your entire funnel, right? Now, once they go through that, you want to now say, all right, they paid this for me. You want to create a course. The easiest way to create a course, I tell people the easier way to create a course is read what the ebook said. Write your course around the ebook.
Right.
Literally verbally tell people how to do it. You're just literally saying, hey, this is how you can be able to become 6 figures. First, get a digital product. And then you talk a little bit more about digital product, what it's in the ebook.
Right.
And then you add it, you record it. You can use Teachable or any other accounts. You add it to the cart. And when customer comes, you upsell it to them you upsell them your course. Now, once they get your course, you want to, that's the first funnel, right? A lot of people have upsell, downsell. This is why I had success in, right? Once they pay for everything, you want to have your calendar, you want to have a webinar that you already have, and then you want to have a free Facebook group that they can have access to. Why? Because you want to start building your community fast as an entrepreneur. That's something I never did. So rev.com or AI.com, you transcribe it, you take that content, you go to someone on Fiverr, you tell them, hey, I just need this ebook to spend it. You want it to be about 3,000 words. Once it's 3,000 words, because you don't want a lot. You want something that somebody can be able to easily digest, because you always want the customer to come back. And then once you do that, you take that content, you create a course around it.
Right.
You add it to the funnel. Once you add it to the funnel, you don't give them a lot of people tell you upsell, downsell. No, you don't do that, because a buying customer is a potential customer. So a lot of clients that have bought from me, 9 times out of 10, they always join my mentorship. I don't take them through a whole series, because I want to make money quick, fast. So I don't want to have them go up and down. This guy's trying to sell me. No, I don't want to do that.
Okay. I know we have to start getting you out of here, but I want to talk about something that you mentioned. You had mentioned funnels.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about funnels. What exactly is a funnel? Because someone may have heard you say all these things, and they're like, all right, they were probably just gonna put a direct link for somebody to pay them on PayPal, like Cash App, to buy the book. But no, you said sales funnel, right?
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I had you on here to talk about monetizing your brand, but I didn't have you break down what a sales funnel is, how it works, and what success you've had with the sales funnels. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So I'm going to tell you guys how I was able to make my Army salary in a funnel, right? So basically what I did was I did it with credit repair. I realized when I was doing credit repair, a lot of people wanted me to teach them about credit, but I was charging probably about $400 or $500 at the time. So I said to myself, what if I create a digital product where people come in, again, the first method, they get a free product, and then they come in, they get a sales funnel is where you can put a bunch of products that you sell, that you can place. You can have an upsell, you can have a downsell. It basically increases your revenue. So I had a free ebook, 101 ways how to boost your credit, right? A lot of clients get that. Boom. Then I had my other ebook on identity theft and all that. I had 3 ebooks where clients got it for $97. Then I had my court for $47. So every one of those clients that bought from me, Marvin, what I did was I then called every one of them and said, hey, you know what? I'm going to hold a webinar, and this webinar is the only webinar that I'm going to hold. And a lot of those individuals, because they loved my work and my results, over 80 students show up for the webinar. And then at the time when I hosted the webinar, I told them, I was like, listen, I'm going to coach you for the next 90 days how to clean your credit. I'm going to teach you skills on how I went from a 580 to a 840 in literally 12 to 18 months. And I charged them $1,500.
Mm,
All 80 didn't buy,
mhm,
but 55, I think 50 or 55 bought,
mhm.
and they all paid. And when 55 or 55 to 50 paid, that's when I was able to make that amount of money just off credit,
Mhm.
which I literally leverage it, and I join a high elite mentorship. So now I want to host another webinar for a digital product
Right.
where I can be able to coach people for 90 days on how they can be able to start marketing and scale a digital product as soon as possible.
And that was off one funnel.
That was off one funnel. That was not me having them go through upsell, downsell. It was literally free, 3 ebooks and a course. And my team or myself, we calling them and we tell them like, hey, we're gonna host a webinar. And those individuals agreeing that they was going to come to the webinar. And it wasn't a lot of email, using ConvertKit, all that stuff. It was literally just calling the individual. Another thing I'll tell a lot of people that's watching, you want to make sure you have a person's cell phone number in that funnel.
Okay.
So you can have a direct access to them. Because they can always block you. Who cares if they block you?
Right.
I don't care.
Right. And then from there, you're ready to rock and roll. Goodness gracious. Gems upon gems upon gems upon gems. My brother, I know we have to start wrapping this up. But before I, of course, let you get out of here, I know that I'll be remiss if, we're talking about monetizing your brand, I know that you have an ebook of your own. Talk a little bit about that, and also let the audience know where they'd be able to find you.
So my ebook literally tells you how to get your first product. My ebook tells you how to brand yourself, and my ebook tells you about digital marketing, how to market yourself digitally, right? So I have those 3 ebooks because one of the problems a lot of entrepreneurs that want to get into the digital product space is like they don't know how to create an ebook. They don't know when they create an ebook, how to personally brand themselves, and they don't know how to personally market themselves.
Right.
So that's what myself and my team, we created those 3 ebooks. So literally when you get that ebook, it's going to expedite your success. So you don't have to go through all the hoops because the greatest commodity that we all have that we can't get back is time. It's not money.
Facts.
So anything you spend to get that information, you can always make more money. But when you waste time, you can never get time back.
Facts.
So that's why I always tell people, always focus on if I pay for this, can I make more money? If it's a yes, then you buy it. You can find me on Instagram at Lucini2Motivate. I am very active on Instagram. So you can go ahead and find me on Instagram at Lucini2Motivate.
And we're gonna get the link to put it in the description of this video, correct? For the ebook.
Yes.
Sensational. Okay, my guy Lucini, thank you so much, of course, for coming on and talking about how to monetize your brand. And thank you, of course, to everyone that tapped in to this episode where we broke things down. And if you haven't already, make sure, of course, you tap in with Lucini. It's at Lucini2Motivate on all platforms, correct?
Yes.
Lucini2Motivate on all platforms. And if you haven't already, make sure you take a second, take a minute, take an hour out of your day right here, right now. Just go ahead to subscribe to the channel and show the pod and the channel some love as well. As always, I'm Marvin Francois. This is Lucini Donzo. Y'all have been good. We've been great. This has been amazing. Thank you, and God bless.